For instance, let's say tonight on the way home, you were driving on a back street and saw a terrible accident in front of you. And you looked around for somebody else to help you, and there was nobody but you. So you stopped and you ran over. The car had flipped over, and you heard some groaning way over here in some weeds. You run over there, and you find a lady who's laying down. You pick her up, and you can notice she has a broken arm. And then she starts screaming for her husband. So you run back under, and you see a man pinned under the car, and the blood is just coming out of his neck. Which one of these two would you help first? Obviously, you'd help the one with the greater need. Why is it then that when we teach, we oftentimes don't even look at either one of the people, but run to see if the car was damaged because that makes sense to us at the moment? You see, there are people in our classes that have terrible, pressing needs. And too many of us are off talking about who was the author of Genesis and what kind of wood there was in Noah's Ark. We have to change that. And let me give you some practical help on how to do that with those 3x5 cards we talked about it a minute ago. For each question that we talked about, like when I get depressed, it's usually because, or the sin that always seems to trip me up no matter how hard I try is, take one of those questions and then take all of your cards and start putting them in different piles. All of them that have to do with the family, put in this pile. All of them have to do with money, in this pile, and so forth. And right as you go through these, you'll start making different categories as a visual picture of the major needs right in your class. And if this happens to you, like most people, you'll find out just in the process of doing this that you may have been answering in your class questions that not one person has been asking. Just listen to some of these right here. My husband refuses to let me participate in any money decisions. I think he may be hiding the money in case we get divorced. What should I do? Here's one. My doctor just told me I have a degenerative disease and will soon lose my ability to take care of myself. I don't want to be a burden to my family. If it gets really bad, can I kill myself and will God forgive me? Or this one. I'm considering bankruptcy. What does God think about that? There's no passion in our sex life. My husband just uses me and I feel worthless after that. A man at work has been trying to have an affair with me. Why shouldn't I have one with him? You see, my friends, I don't care what church you're in, what class you teach, or what part of the country you live in. If you just ask the questions, you're going to get back the real answers. And when you get those answers and you put them in the categories like we were talking to you about, and finish your piles, you're going to have right in front of you a visual representation. Because the largest pile is the number one need, and that's where you ought to focus on teaching. So keep it simple. Pick only one need and plan a lesson or a series of lessons to meet the need, the most important one first.
Number 3, forecast the need. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're teaching a bunch of high school students and you've picked out that one of the top needs is they really have problems with their parents and obedience, all right, and submission to authority. And that's the one need you try to pick out. Before you go to class and try to motivate them, you have to do step 3, and this is a real secret here. Most people don't understand this. That is, you say, if I'm going to deal with the issue of submission to authority in parents, what's the positive thing that will happen in that high school life if they do learn it? And what's the negative thing that's going to happen to them in their life if they don't learn it? If you spent 5 minutes on this, you'd have about 10 positives and 10 negatives. Now that is the part that you're going to use now. Now you're getting ready to say, that's the bait I can use for my high school class. And the issue is, now which one of all those should I take in the next box and help them feel the need to learn how to submit God's way? So they're saying inside, whoa, I really do want to know about this. How do you do that? Will you tell me? Please tell me. And that's the next box. That's feel the need. Feel the need. Feel the need. And there's 7 different methods that you can use to build feeling. And we'll show that in a few moments. The deeper they feel it, the more motivated they are to learn. Therefore, whose job is it to help them feel? Answer? The teacher. Now, in a sense, box 1, 2, and 3 are before class. You find out what they are, you pick one out, and you forecast what the positives and negatives are. You come to class, you build the need till they feel it, and then the last box is you fulfill the need. You fulfill the need. Now, let's just play around for that for a moment. Let's just play around for you're the high school class, okay? We're going to deal with submission to authority. And somebody give me a benefit, a positive thing that I can help you, show you how to do that, or a negative thing that I'll try to then use over here on this high school class, to build the need feeling-wise. Okay? Give me something. Yes?
If you rebel, you are giving away your guidance.
You're giving away your guidance. How to be safe, in other words. Okay. So my job now is to build needs so that you feel to submit to authority on her idea that you'll lose guidance, okay? Give me a second. On the way home from a recent conference, somebody was driving me to the airport. And it was a college student, and it turns out he was deeply in love. And we began talking, and I said, well, are you going to propose to this young lady? And he said, I don't know. Well, do you love him? Love her? Oh, yeah. A lot? A lot. Does she love you? Oh, yeah. No kidding. Yeah, her parents are even up here this weekend at college. Really? Yeah, what do they think about you guys? Oh, they like it. They do? They think you should get married? Uh-huh. But I'm not sure if I can be sure. I mean, I'm not really sure that she's the one. Well, do you love her a lot? Yeah. But, I could meet somebody else 2 weeks from now that could be the right one. In other words, what you would love to have is a sense of guidance of how to be sure that when you marry that person, it's the right person. I said, the Bible tells you a way in one particular passage of how to be sure if you're marrying the right person or not. It has to do with submission to 3 separate things. Now, when it comes time for you to marry your person, and you're deeply in love, and yet you're scared to death, am I going to make a mistake and get divorced like all those other people? Wouldn't it be great to be sure in your heart that you were doing the right thing? Well, if you're interested, next week, I'm going to give you the 3 secrets of how to never again wonder if you're marrying the right person. Did it work? Next week. There's a single guy who says, what is it? Tell me. Now, what was that? It was through a story, right? It was dealing with something that she wasn't prompted. That was a real question. I was on the spot. You should be able to do that to me about anything. And I should be able to do that to you about anything. You're kidding me. I'm not kidding you. This is like driving. When you first learn to stick, put down the clutch, move the thing, now the gas, look out the mirror, and now, do you think about any of those things? Of course not. You're driving an automatic. But the point of it was, before long, it becomes what kind of nature to you? My friends, it's not because I'm teaching this course that I do this. There's thousands of people that can do this. You can do this. Think about what you want to say and say, now, how can I scratch you? I mean, how can I make you itch? What is that? Understand? Don't give them the answer until they're asking and the deeper the more they're going to learn. Like Carl Henry said, he made us hurt for the answer before he gave it to us. A great teacher.
Now, how do you become a great teacher? How do you help your students to hurt for the answer before you give it to them? How do you build the need? I mean, anytime, at any audience, for any subject. I mean, what's the secret to leading your class to really desire what you're going to teach them? Well, I'm sorry to say, there isn't a secret. There are 7 secrets that all master teachers use all the time. In fact, the last time that you really wanted to learn something in class, now this is really important. Come a little closer for a minute. It may have been because someone was using one of them on you at that very moment. So come with me then. Let's explore together those 7 secrets. By the way, we call them the 7 maximizers of need. Effective teachers use these 7 maximizers almost unconsciously. But if you went back and studied what they were doing, guess what you'd find? You'd find them using one or more of these 7 maximizers every time they built the need. These then are the universals. This is the way that you as a teacher help a person to feel something regardless of where you are in the world. That is, if I do it here, or in Brazil, or Singapore, or whatever, it works the same. It doesn't make any difference what subject you're talking about, or even what age your students are. So let's get into them. Remember, though, that our course textbook covers these in a lot more detail and with a lot more illustrations. I can only give you a brief overview of each one of them. Number 1, describe the need in a factual presentation. Think back for a moment to the law of application. Do you remember those graphic facts we gave to you about the young people today and what was really going on? Remember how you were feeling? Hopefully, if I did my job properly, you were feeling a need to do something. Well, the key to move an audience so that they really feel something by using facts is to find facts that have one of 2 characteristics. Number 1, either they're shocking or totally unexpected, or a second and a little bit more subtle is to present those facts in a certain way that all of a sudden they see those facts from this perspective in a whole new relationship. Oftentimes you see newspapers, especially like USA Today, using factual presentations, sometimes even with graphs or lists, to build in the mind of the reader to want to read the rest of the story. So use facts. When you see something in the paper, you say, oh, look at that. See that reaction in yourself? Look at that. Rip that part out and stick it somewhere. Keep a little file of facts that you could say, oh, I could use that if I was teaching on. Got it? All right. Number 2, express the need through storytelling. Through storytelling. This is the easiest of all methods to build a need. Remember how you felt with the Becky story? Or what about section 2? Or what about Jennifer trying to fish on the end of the little dock with a bare hook? If I did my job as a teacher effectively, you felt the need to either know something more. You said to yourself, ooh, how did that work? I want to know that. Or you felt the need to use that truth in your own life. Ooh, I should be doing that. Now, the key to a good story that really moves a person emotionally is that they must identify in their emotions with the story. A really effective story, a great story, gets the whole audience involved in the story. Everybody's saying, oh, yes. See? A poor story gets only the teacher involved in telling the story, and everybody else is saying, let's move on. Now, did Jesus Christ use many stories to build a need? Sure he did, all the time. What do we call them? We even have a name for them. They're called parables. Over and over again, people were moved emotionally to the point that they were begging Jesus to tell them the answer. Well, in the resource guide, you're going to find a number of excellent articles that will help you in knowing where to find great stories. And then once you have that story, what's the secret